Welcome to In the Cut, the show that gets you up close and personal with BN and our community. And now, here is your host, Kevon Cameron.
Good afternoon. Welcome to In the Cut. I am your host, Kevon Cameron. This is the show that gets you up close and personal with BN, our community happenings, and all the good stuff going on with the organization. I am, as I said, Kevon, I'm the lead organizer of BN's New York City affiliate. BlackNonbelievers is a 501c3 nonprofit, which is headquartered in the Atlanta area. The purpose of BlackNonbelievers is to connect Blacks and allies who are living free of religion and might otherwise be shunned by their families and friends by providing caring, friendly, and informative community. Instead of accepting dogma, we determine truth and morality through reason and evidence. The mission of BlackNonbelievers is, of course, to provide secular fellowship, to nurture and support non-believers in coming out, and encourage pride in non-religious identities, educate the public on the history and current state of non-belief in the Black community, and of course, organize for events and charitable causes. BN welcomes all regardless of age, gender identity, sexual identity, national origin, racial identity. However, our content and our work prioritizes Black non-religious voices. And now I'd like to welcome our co-host, founder of BlackNonbelievers, Mandisa Thomas. How's it going?
Pretty good. As you know, we are live at the Women of Color Beyond Belief conference. And Kevon is here representing. And how are you enjoying the conference so far?
It's been fun. I always love this is my favorite conference. I might be a little biased, but it is my favorite conference.
Right. And there are some folks who are joining us. For example, Cynthia McDonald, who just finished on the podcasting and YouTube channel, podcasting and YouTube panel, excuse me. We just finished that and it was really, really good. We appreciate everyone who is streaming the conference online and who is here in person. Right now, we're here on our lunch break. And for those of you who aren't here, this is an inclusive conference. So registration includes breakfast, lunch, breaks. We try to include all meals. As a matter of fact, we do. So you're kind of missing out there, but we do appreciate those who supported the conference and allowed us to do this because, we couldn't do it without your support here. And Kevon, this is the third year that you've been at the Women of Color Beyond Belief conference. So tell us why it is important for some of everyone and not just women to support this conference. What do you get out of that?
I mean, given even before the current political situation, it was important to show the world, for the same reason the meetup exists, to show the world that we're not a monolith, we're not all religious people, that we exist, especially Black women, because Black women are sort of stereotyped as the most religious community, and it's important to show. There's many Black women here today. It's important to show that Black women have their own identity. It's not necessarily a religious one. So I think that's the greatest part of the conference. It highlights that fact.
Perfect. And again, there is something that everyone can learn. Last night, one of our presenters, Deanna Williams, showed her movie Tracks, which is basically her story about coming out as gay and how that impacted her, as well as the family around her. We just finished, in addition to the podcasting and YouTube panel, the reproductive justice panel. So there are a lot of things that are being covered, a lot of subjects that are being covered at this conference and that impact us as a community and beyond. So, and we are also doing the Secure the Bag meal packing project tomorrow. So there is still time to support that. For those of you who are streaming online, those links will, and they should be shared. I hope they are. To support. And, we have folks here. We're going to be recruiting some volunteers, to help feed families in the Chicago area. And, it's just a really great time. When I put together an event, I love for everyone to feel welcome, to feel like this is a space where they belong. We can connect, have some really good, as a matter of fact, one of the attendees was just saying how, she's a massage therapist and she'd love to work with us on setting up, massages here next year. So yeah, let's keep that in mind, especially for those of you who are watching. We're gonna have to put that together. We're gonna have to get that together. So yeah, and just, definitely, what are you looking forward to some more about the conference, Kevon?
Well, I was looking for this forward to this most of the conference, but also tomorrow coming up, not Cynthia. Oh wow, she's gonna kill me that I'm blanking on her name.
I know. You better get it right.
Nadia Dutchin, who runs American Humanist Association, is giving a talk tomorrow, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Good. So yes, for those of you who are watching, please continue to stay tuned. It is going to be a wonderful rest of the conference. And for those of you who haven't signed up yet, you can still do so when WOCBeyondBelief.com. We still have another day for it. So please do consider supporting and tuning into the conference, because this does help us not just with this year's event, but also what we do next year. So definitely, we want to keep this going, keep the momentum going. And we are so happy to be doing this show. I'm so glad it fell on this weekend, because this gives us an opportunity to show that we are able to do this on location. So with that, I will turn it back over to Kevon.
Yeah. So today, I would like to welcome back to In the Cut, our very special guest, Jena Miyu. Jena is a podcaster. She just co-hosted, as Mandisa said, the panel on podcasting and YouTubing. Welcome back to the show, Jena.
Ooh, I'm glad to be back, and I definitely need to be there live next year for that massage. So
yes,
I'm definitely there next year. No, I appreciate being back. This is great. This is a great day so far. Love it. And enjoy the keynote, all of it.
And thank you so much for being a part of the panel virtually. We really do appreciate it. Some of the other speakers are virtual too, so we really appreciate that.
No, I love the opportunity. Thank you.
Definitely. How did you like the actual panel discussion itself? How did you feel that went?
And it's not too often that I talk about, how to be a content creator, how'd you start? I was sitting with it last night thinking, like, when did I start? How long has it been now? Because everything has fast tracked so fast. It's like I dove into one thing after another. And that's the beautiful part of, doing these things virtually. It's seemingly easy because you're just in one location, but it's also a lot of hard work. But having that discussion with Cynthia and Mandisa, it was my opportunity to show, this can be done, and there needs to be more of us, just so that we have more faces and more voices to share in their experience and have a cohesion of what our goals should be moving forward. So I can honestly say it may have just been my first time kind of deep diving, having that discussion with other people, and I enjoyed it.
Okay, cool. And as for those who might be following you on social media or on YouTube, as well as you got into this a bit in your panel discussion, but you've been going through some issues lately with family. You mentioned that between the original appearance on In the Cut and your panel discussion today, you'd actually come out to your family. This was something we discussed last time. And you want to give us a little background on how that went, why you decided to come out when you did, and how that's been so far?
Oh yeah, it's been a journey, a unique one, to say the least. So yeah, I remember being on in April. It's been 5 or 6 months since then, and I had came out to my family mid-August. Two motivating factors would be, one, I think it was kind of discussed during the show or a little bit backstage of, and I think Mandisa actually voiced this, there would be a point where you'll just get tired. You get tired, and the weight would just be so heavy that you just have to just relinquish and let go. And, I was already feeling that burn at that moment, and, time passes, and, things change as far as work and life and being in this space and being a open online personality, but nothing of sort outside of that. So it just having feeling that burden of keeping this a secret, or feeling like I'm lying to my family, it just didn't sit with me well anymore, even though I felt and knew, I guess you could say, the consequences. So that was one motivating factor. And also my partner, Oz. As you know, he and I co-own the Atheist Network Group channel on YouTube. And our relationship has been 10 months now strong. And it obviously, with that, we didn't want to just keep it virtual. And not to say it has been difficult. We've beautifully been, sharing our love and sharing ourselves openly and doing what we do naturally as far as content creators, and just being the best of friends to one another and good to one another. So, obviously that's a driving motivation to want to build a relationship, life together. So, come, well, it was to be January, but it might be a lot sooner that I'll be moving to Indiana. And that's where he lives.
Okay, so it hasn't been quite the easy road for you since coming out. Where do you see it's very difficult to ask you now because this is very fresh for you and very new. But how do you see? Can you see a path forward towards any sort of normalization of this? Any sort of stable type relationship with your family?
And that I feel like I have spent some time prior to coming out thinking about those things, and now in this moment it almost seems like all of that just flew out of my head and out the window, only because of how raw things are still. I know for them, not only just hitting them over the head, so to speak, with I'm gonna move, I'm no longer gonna be here, but also the fact that I've, in their language, lost my faith, or become angry with God, or um, question why God has, disowned me, or whatever the case may be. And I don't, for a time, there are small instances where things are cordial, but right now, especially today, it's a bit raw for them, because for all of us, because of changes that will occur quite quickly and really soon, which forecasts me to be moving to Indiana probably a lot sooner than I thought. But I've noticed the, I guess you could say, microaggressions of everyone being more heavily outspoken about faith and trusting in God. And my mother consistently saying, I'm not ashamed that I call on Jesus and pray to him. I'm not ashamed to say that, knowing that, she's supposed to, drive a little stick in my heart whenever she kind of mentions that. And so to put it plainly, presently right now, I don't see a hope in which they would come to an understanding of, accepting where I am as far as not believing. I don't feel that it would, not anytime soon. I don't think ever, to be quite honest. I think they will strive and continue to pray for me, and that's fine. They can do what helps them, but it's nothing that I feel would be a mutual. I mean, I'm still me. I accept them. I still respect them. I try as best to keep that peace, but I'm always going to be met with the microaggressions. Or if it's something more of them being upset with me for something else, it'll be more explosive.
Okay. And you mentioned coming out to your family. Is this just your immediate family, or is this is this everyone know by now, or?
Well, it was just to start my immediate family. So my mother, my older sister, and her husband. As far as my other extended family, per my mother, she has consult with a family friend and other family members that may or may not know. And, because they're so heavy with really pushing me not to move, and really pushing me to not worship the devil.
Okay, interesting. Has there been anyone who has found out since who's been surprisingly supportive at all?
Other than a couple of my coworkers that I've shared with them some time ago, sometime maybe late last year. So they're familiar with me and they know of me, and especially the given situation with me moving. Yes, with those individuals that well, I honestly can't say that's really surprising. But apart from that, no, it's I'm surrounded by a very high level of anxiety and just a raw feeling of having to tiptoe around not aggravating anyone.
Wow. So you said your move will probably be pushed up sooner than you think. Now, do you think I'm sure it'll be like you'll be able to breathe a sigh of relief, especially not just being closer to your partner, but also being closer to people who are like-minded, and you'll be closer to a community. Um, are you comfortable with where you're going to be moving? And because California, in a way, tends to be liberal. However, if you're around religious family members, that doesn't mean it doesn't mean much. So, what do you think that will do for your comfort level and your anxiety once you actually move?
That's a great question. I know for me, at 32 years old, I finally can feel and say that I have a life, my own life, what I'm choosing for myself, whether some outside person thinks it's wrong or immoral or not. Um, I don't see it that way. And my choices are my own. And I finally feel like I can be that person I dreamt of being, and being surrounded by people that are supportive and is helping me mentally be healthy, because that's one devastating thing that's been hard hit for me. I juggle with undiagnosed, unmedicated, I guess you could say, either way you look at it, depression and mixed mood disorders and things like that. So, in this space where I just have high levels of anxiety, both going to work and coming home, has been very intense for me. And, kudos to my partner Oz for just being that rock and soft space for me in this time. But, to answer you more directly, as far as transitioning from California to Indiana, I don't go out much, to be honest. It's just living here. It's like work, school, or home. So, my lifestyle here at home is very sheltered, and I feel like I always have to constantly wear a mask, where I can't freely feel comfortable to just be out all night if I want to, or just kind of do my own thing without having to tell somebody. And it's strange to say, as a grown adult that works and pays bills and owns her own car and all that shit, but being out there, and I had a taste of that when our channel had the Better Conference in June. That week spending there, I can't tell you how much of the weight and me feeling so relaxed, even though that weekend itself was chaotic and busy and fun all at once, just helping Oz run a conference. I never felt more like myself. And discovering that part of me, discovering where my comfort was, how I felt mingling with other people, actually physically talking to a person that I met online but is like-minded like me. I don't have that here. But having to now have that, I felt and knew where I wanted to be.
Yeah. Speaking of community, it seems like, from at least what I've seen online, it seems like you've had, as far as the online community goes, it seems like you've had a good amount of support, would you say, from people on Twitter or on YouTube? How's that been going?
Overwhelming. Yes, overwhelming. Aside from...
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, I'm back. No, every day it's been, I talk to Oz. He's my immediate, but, I've learned to actively reach out to those I can trust and will be straight with me, because that's what I need. Mandisa, you're one that I've reached out to a couple times as far as text or a call. Cynthia, there's been a moment too. There's been moments with Dave Warnock. There's been moments with all sorts of people that I know would be genuine and give me sound advice or encouragement and would not sugarcoat and say, you're not crazy. You are being realistic in your choices and what you want. You've demonstrated yourself enough and lended yourself enough to your present situation. All that is being fed to you, and speaking from outside to me, all that's been fed to you is anxiety, trauma, bad words, being name called, like all sorts of things where I did not experience with those I call my new family or my close friends.
Right. Do you have any? Because you have much more experience on YouTube and podcasting and social media than I do. Still very much a baby in this whole thing, and I rarely, especially on this show, try not to get too into myself because the whole point is to interview other people. Is there any sort of calculation as far as sharing? Do you feel sharing your current situation with everyone, do you think that's helping, hurting? Do you think it's a good thing for other people to see? How do you feel about that?
That's quite interesting because, here in the physical with my family and whomever my mother says is against what I'm doing, you obviously I met with the attack and the difference of, this is wrong. You shouldn't have to treat your family like this or this, that, and the other. So, and then the other side, as far as my online appearance and the people I talk to and communicate with, and, with our content, we're raw and open all the time. So we hide very little. So everyone, if you know us, you know everything about our lives almost. I haven't shared fully everything that's been occurring until this moment, but for me, I know personally what helps me the most is feeling validated and affirmed that I'm making decisions that I know I feel comfortable with, and I do. But you just, of course, the opposition tugs at you, and it does, because mainly I love my family still. That has not changed, despite the horrible names they've called me, despite them believing that I worship something that I don't even think exists, despite making me feel almost on a daily basis that I'm just a cold-hearted cow that whores herself eventually in a comedy club that is also a strip club, which they think is a thing, but it's not. All sorts of things that have been horribly said to me by my own family that I haven't experienced from people that genuinely care and that I feel care and love me, even though I don't feel that my family loves me less. But they certainly don't believe me when I say I'm sorry or I love you too. And that's hurtful. So those pull and tugs have been weighing on me a lot. But I'm encouraged by those that think of me and know that mental health and feeling affirmed and validated about yourself is a good thing, when I know my family doesn't believe in that. It's all about prayer.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But you're still the same person. You're still doing all the same things. You're responsible, grown up, like you said. You have an amazing profession. So nothing has really changed about you. It's just frustrating that they don't seem to understand that, and try to move forward. But you said one of the things you said in the panel is that you have not you've sort of come out to them. You've let them know everything, but you've not gone into the whole podcasting thing because you wanted to keep a sort of space for yourself in that, and it's for you, and I can understand that because it's, especially being new at it. Any sort of speculation on how that might change once they do find out?
I think, yeah. And I think I may have said this on the previous In the Cut, and I've often played with this in my mind before I came out, was I wonder how they discover. Would it be like a church member that says, hey, your daughter is on here saying shit, or they happen to Google, I don't know, something where I pop up somewhere, because I've been on a lot of different channels, and but anyway, but I played with that idea, and I'm fine with them finding out on their own. But like I had said, I have no desire of bringing this up or making this a known thing to them purposefully, because, ever since I came out on my own silently and gravitated to finding good friends and being a person that's on camera, this has been my comfort zone as far as me demonstrating and discovering who I am. A lot of, as I mentioned with like, I've mentioned a lot with being atheist and Black is, and actually Cynthia said this in the panel discussion, where, faith and being Black is so married to each other. It's just in our DNA, so to speak. And, it was not until maybe around this time last year, keeping in mind I've been 4 years removed from being, religious or whatnot, I truly found who I was as a person, what my likes were, what my identity is. I even struggled with that as a child. A young Black girl that doesn't have the flowy, nice, wavy, well, I do now, but no, doesn't have the flowy, nice hair as a kid, but, and, darker than the rest of your friends, and doesn't have the pretty green, blue eyes. You trap yourself in understanding, like, I don't look that way. And then growing up, feeling all sorts of different and strange, and now coming to the point where I don't even believe in God. And it's kind of like, removing myself from faith. Now it's kind of like I've removed my identity too. So who am I? And it wasn't until around this time last year that I finally figured that shit out. And, this helped. Being and doing what I do now helped. And I want to keep that sacred. I'm striving for that. And I want to, as I move on to different things, I want to do more of that, both in person and virtually. I don't have the capacity to do that now because sometimes I don't feel safe. But once I get myself to where I want to be, I'm going for it. And I want to keep this sacred for me.
Yeah, I can understand that. I not that I have a relationship with them, but I can understand why I wouldn't tell my family that I'm on YouTube. And sometimes I wonder if they do know, but it doesn't really.
I wonder too.
I don't. It doesn't even matter. But it's. I'm glad that you seem to be coming through this. I saw some things on Twitter where you seem a little down, justifiably so. But I'm glad you seem to be making your way through this, and you're still doing the podcasting. You're keeping it up. I'm really glad that you're able to keep that going. Do you have anything coming? How is other than the fact that you talk about this now, and this is like an immediate part of your life, and it's changing. Has this affected your broadcasting in any way, other than the fact that you will be moving and you're currently in this process and you're talking about it?
Yeah. I haven't been on screen or been able to venture out to help friends where I want to, or talk to more people as much before, because of the uniqueness of my situation now. So a lot of my work that I do strive to do, if I can find the time and I'm not tired, is the backstage stuff. Like, I'm comfortable on both sides, and I love, creating intro stuff. Like, if our channel, Oz is more the music side, I'm more the visuals. So, and I've learned to develop those skills for myself when I hosted another channel or platform, and doing it here on Tang. I love and enjoy that, because it still keeps me active in where I feel safe, and I still strive and I push myself to reach out and talk to friends that I know are good to me within that. So that motivation alone is keeping me in that fold, so I can still jump back into doing more things once I separate myself from where I am.
That's cool. Speaking of Oz, didn't he just drop an album? Did I see that correctly?
He is dropping an album. So he, for whatever reason, credits me for helping him. I'm like, I didn't write one lick of this lyric, but no.
You do promote him heavily, though. I've seen that constantly.
I do. I mean, naturally, I love the guy. No, so 2 singles. He's one he released about 2 weeks ago, and another single that released just overnight. He's having a listening party for his album coming out on October 30th, which is Devil's Night, which is also the title of his album. So he is very diligent with, so much music he's produced. I've exclusively heard the whole thing. He sends me everything, but I still support him, buy stuff. So you should too. No. But yes, him working on that has been keeping him healthy and mentally focused and sane too, as we both go through this journey together. Because, he's also been met with a brunt of a lot of what I've been going through with my family, and they have yet to even want to speak with him. And so the misjudgments, and if you don't know Oz, he is a white man, and me being a Black woman in the eyes of my family is, for lack of a better word, wrong. So there's a lot of, misconceptions and presumptions of, things you could, imagine and think for yourselves. But, I think me helping and supporting what he does has helped me feel a sense of normalcy and sanity too, just to escape everything else outside of that.
Yeah, sounds good. Speaking of, when you did come out, was there, because it is Black Nonbelievers, was there anything of a, as far as arguments against being an atheist, was there anything like, well, you're a Black woman, that type of vibe, or was it just this is who we are, family type thing? What is the vibe you get as far as pushback?
Pushback from my family, you mean? Oh, sorry, you're muted. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't hear the last part, but I think it hasn't been so much focused on me as a, well, no, I'll take that back. It has in some instances, yes, as a Black woman. Why would I be this way? But it's more been, I guess you could say, the feeling of how dare I say such a thing as far as not believing in God, and met with the statements or questions like, what has God ever done to you? You think you do this all your own? You think I suffered through birthing you or carrying you by myself without God? You think you've had this, and that, and all these blessings without God? You did that all on your own. So that's the general pushback, but also, how, and this is the most hurtful part for me, is how can I be apologetic when I apologize or feel bad or say that I love them when I don't have that faith anymore? So it's just flat out, I'm a liar, I'm cold-hearted, or they struggle or cannot believe me when I say I'm sorry and I love you. And despite still me moving forward with moving, in their eyes, I will never be sorry, because I'm still doing what I'm doing. I'm still pursuing me versus what they want. And that's been the most hurtful, because I don't even know how to balance that. I don't even know how a person could. That's going to take a lot of therapy and time. But, I hate feeling as though, I'll continue to be who I am to them. I will never change. But how I'm treated and spoken to obviously weighs heavy. And It's just sad to finally experience the space where just because I lack a belief in what they believe in, now all of a sudden I'm just a completely different person,
Yeah, I can
or
imagine.
that they never knew me.
Yeah, I can imagine how that would be. That would definitely be hurtful. It, it's it's unbelievable. It typically, from the sort of, I know part of the thing you were saying when you got into the whole atheist Discord thing is that it was very philosophical, and you weren't necessarily going down the philosophical route. And I don't know how much, if at all, you've applied any sort of philosophy, because typically, if you watch the atheist shows, the atheist shows out there, the some of the,
Mm-hmm.
typically the approach is, when you're dealing with someone you care about, and you're not, this is, it's not the call-in thing, it's somebody you care about. A lot of times the approach is, well, it's a softer thing. It's, well, this doesn't mean I don't love you. I just don't have evidence. I'm not yet convinced. How much of that tactic have you taken, do you take in general, and how much have you taken recently, and has that seemed to soften anything at all?
As far as utilizing or thinking about things philosophically, zero. I I don't care. I just don't care. I mean, I can see how it can be useful to a person, but it's not useful for me. Let alone, I don't feel or believe that it's useful to someone just freshly coming out, because it takes so much other words to explain concepts and bigger words and other concepts and other, word equations, that is just like, why? And even, you know, in my experience of, looking at other channels or being on other shows or having people talk to me, whether they're believe or not, even certain theists or, believers, approach you with philosophical arguments to explain and give evidence and reasoning for their faith. So it's like, what's the utility here? At the end of the day, for a common person, for the layman, if you happen to walk by a church and they were just coming out and you approach them with some philosophical argument to explain away their God, they will look at you crazy. They would not understand what you're saying, and they would just shoo you away. I don't see how that could be applicable or be, helpful to anyone, especially for someone that's just freshly coming away from religion. Because, it's more, I feel, getting to the root of that person, why they started to believe in the first place. Were they just born into it? Were they told to? Did they have a strong faith and bounce around to other religions and didn't find what best suited for them? And it's never been my motivation, even now and never in the future, to apply those same concepts to my own family. I don't have a desire to remove them from their belief. They can have that because that helps them. But having faith or applying philosophy to explain faith or not explain faith, that's no utility for me.
Right.
So I just give no fucks.
Yeah, I think you made two really good points there. One is that a lot of times they, like, a religious person just doesn't care about philosophy. They're motivated a lot of times by emotion. It's a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when some of them are motivated by philosophy, it doesn't really matter. I've learned, watching the atheist shows on YouTube, I've had to learn a lot about science, because some religious people come with, well, have you heard of this theory and that theory and this?
Right.
This
Yeah.
this scientist over here says that, time is this, and the origin is this theory. So even though they are very, very knowledgeable about science, it hasn't, and philosophy, it hasn't really yielded results. So personally, I'm not a huge fan of philosophy either. I'm just a little curious as to whether you'd made any attempt to sort of soften or trying to explain to them that this isn't you hating them or being against them, and trying to sort of say, maybe, well, this is the way I see it, that sort of.
I
Yeah.
will say, if I may, because I haven't used philosophy as far as with my family. I mean, in conversations on other people's channel or other people I talk to, sure. But again, never with them. But I will say I was allowed a space to explain my lack of faith with my sister. She's a lot easier to discuss with because maybe it's because we're close to the age, maybe it's just that sisterly bond. I don't know. Obviously, she disagrees, but it was a couple days after fully coming out to them, and she came into a separate room with me there, and for an hour, we just had a back and forth. And she was questioning, not, attackingly, but genuinely having a conversation with me and saying, what do you think about this? Or where did you decide your faith was slipping? And, explaining to her, like, in my process of a deconstruction on my own silently for several years, I was striving to becoming closer to God, not striving to remove myself from it. And I told her, like, I read the Bible at least one full time. And then the second time, just spots and pieces where I just reviewed stuff. And she herself has never fully read the Bible. She was surprised at the scriptures I would mention about slavery and surprised about scriptures about this and that and the other, as if she never heard these things. And I know she hasn't because we grew up together. This was never anything you hear fanatically preached every Sunday. It's always the good stuff or saying things against gay people. It was always that really good stuff or against gays. That's it. It was never anything about slavery. It was never anything about the treatment of women, even though the classic line is, women are to, men are heads of their lives and all that good stuff. But, seeing that realization on her face when we were having that discussion, and I was, lending scripture and telling her about it. And what hit me hard was, and I knew and saw it on her face, and I'll say this really quickly, and when the point of Jesus came up, as far as, giving your life unto the Lord. And if, the number one biggest sin is blasphemy, I'm a blasphemer in her eyes. Thus, I deserve to go to hell. I asked her point blank, so do you believe, despite me being a good person, or striving to be a person that does good works, do you think I deserve to go to hell? Because the Bible says, blasphemer deserves to, damnation or whatever. She danced around it, tried to explain. And, I kept asking her at least 3 times. And finally she said, yes. So that was a punch in the gut, but she's not wrong. But it was shocking. And I knew it hurt her to say that, because I knew in that moment she was striving to get me back, not, say this is you and this is what will happen.
Yeah, that's very difficult. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I really do hope your situation gets better. I know you are moving, so it definitely looks like it's getting better. I really appreciate you both being on the show today and being a speaker on the panel at the conference. We really appreciate that.
And also do know that you will always have support in us. You can reach out to me anytime. I will make sure that I do my best to check in on you and see how you're doing. And that is exactly what we should be doing as a community.
Definitely. You can reach out to any of us. We're all here to support you. We've had similar experiences, so we definitely know what you're going through. But again, I really want to thank you for being on the show. Before we let you go, though, is there anything you have coming up that you wanted to promote?
For me personally, I don't have anything coming up. I know right now it's been, a lot of here and there shows on the Atheist Network group for our channel. And know Oz has been actively working on, his music too. And so I'm proud of him with that. But me personally, I think I've made it a point for myself to just kind of document certain things on Twitter, as you've noticed, Kevon. I haven't lately, but after today, I probably will. Today is actually a very important, interesting day. But you'll just see me on Twitter saying things, because I think if I ever decide to write a book, this is going to be one hell of a book. But No, I appreciate the love. I see all of y'all, Amy, Esther, Cynthia, all of y'all. I love you, and I appreciate the support you've given me, Mandisa, and everyone else that has, reached out to me proactively to show me that love and make sure that I'm okay. I that's it.
Great. We really, again, thank you for being on the show. We look forward to seeing you next year at the conference. And
I'll be there.
all right. So take care of yourself.
All right. Thank you, Jena, once again for being on today's episode, which is live at the Women of Color Beyond Belief conference. It's very quiet right now because we are in one of the breakout rooms, but we are on a lunch break and we will be commencing again or starting back up again shortly. Next week is California Free Thought Day. It's time for announcements now.
Yes.
Next weekend is California Free Thought Day, and Kevon will be one of the speakers.
I will.
You can go to freethoughtday.org and shout out to them. They are one of our sponsors for this conference. And I will also be there live in person and tabling, as well as, supporting Kevon in his debut.
Debut
Appearance.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Thanks for recommending me for that, by the way.
No problem. That's how I do.
Yeah. Also, don't forget to check out the Where We're Headed podcast, of course. It's produced by our Washington, D.C. affiliates, Row over in D.C. You can check that out at wwh.podbean.com. It's a great podcast, so don't forget to check that out.
Also, there are still slots available for the cruise. If you are interested, please do reach out to us on our website or wherever you can find us. Payments are due in full at this point. However, if you are still interested in going on BNCCon 2022 from November 27th through December 3rd, you are more than welcome. And please do sign up on any of our meetup pages or our meetup groups to stay updated. And yes, do please like and subscribe this video and our channel.
Yeah. Any other announcements?
That's it for me.
Yeah. Don't forget. We really appreciate it. That wraps up our show today. But remember, we are on every first and third Saturday of the month, so don't forget to check us out. Also, be sure to check us out on social media, of course, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Subscribe, like, share, subscribe on YouTube, and don't forget to check out our store at BlackNonbelievers. Check out that if you just like to make a donation, that'd be really appreciated. But you can also get merch if you'd like hats, t-shirts, shot glasses, so don't forget to check that out.
No hats yet, though.
No hats yet. Hoodies.
Yeah, hoodies for sure.
Hoodies,
no
hoodies, t-shirts, shot glasses, mugs, stickers, whatever you could possibly want. So don't forget to check that out. Really appreciate you joining the show today, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.